This new year will deal with the sweeping consequences from one of the biggest years yet in U.S. and global elections. In 2024, over 70 countries went to the polls. That's more than half of the world's population. NBC News International correspondent Matt Bradley takes a look at what drove voters to the polls all around the globe.
From the U.S. to the EU, from India to Latin America and beyond, one thing ran true at the polls in 2024. It's the economy. Across Europe, rising cost of living, inflation, and anxieties around immigration spurred anti-incumbent sentiment. In this summer's European Parliament elections, the 27-nation bloc shifted to the right. The centrist coalition remains in power, but far-right parties made major gains. The surprising results prompting French President Macron to call a snap election at home. In the first round of elections, the far-right National Rally Party, led by firebrand Marine Le Pen, leapt into first place. Donatien Rouy at the Center for Strategic and International Studies says the party's ability to tap into the people's discontent with the economy and immigration was key to its recent success.
The National Rally Party, the far-right party of Marine Le Pen, has seen an increase in its vote share significantly election after election. And you can see the French electorate moving more in that direction. That also includes some more blue-collar workers.
In the second round, French voters backed the coalition of left-wing and centrist parties, which formed to block a national rally majority, but Macron's political standing is weakened heading into 2025. The anti-incumbent sentiment also loomed large in the United Kingdom, where after 14 years of conservative rule, the center-left Labour Party swept the election in a historic landslide, sending Keir Starmer to number 10 Downing Street.
You campaigned for it. You fought for it, you voted for it, and now it has arrived. Change begins now.
And Britain's veteran political disruptor Nigel Farage and his anti-immigration Reform UK party secured 5 seats in Parliament. In Romania, an unprecedented constitutional court decision reset November's presidential election results. The court annulled the first-round results days ahead of the runoff.
There's some very serious allegations of foreign influence, particularly from Russia, into the election.
Romania, a key NATO ally on the eastern flank, sharing a border with Ukraine.
The documents that the Romanian intelligence services have declassified and shared with the court have convinced them that there's enough of a problem.
The far-right candidate who won that first round called the decision a coup. It could be months before a new election there. Other countries saw challenges to single-party rule, reining in the power of the majority party. Driven by high unemployment, rampant corruption, and stark racial and economic inequality, South Africa's ANC party lost its outright majority, forcing a coalition government for the first time since apartheid. In India, the world's largest democracy, unemployment and inflation outweighed Prime Minister Narendra Modi's appeal to his base. His BJP party also fell unexpectedly short of an outright parliamentary majority, despite predicting a landslide victory. The editor-in-chief of Foreign Policy, Ravi Agrawal, says it's a good sign for democracy.
It's healthy when people get to make choices that are unpredictable, are truly of their own volition, that lead to changes in trajectory, not just for a party or a government, but also for society.
Mexico made history, electing its first female president, Claudia Sheinbaum.
Me convertiré en la primera mujer presidenta de México.
President Sheinbaum is facing down her country's major fiscal deficit, worsening cartel violence, and new pressure to stem the flow of migrants to the U.S. southern border.
But now we have a new president in Mexico. I'm going to inform her on day one or sooner that if they don't stop this onslaught of criminals and drugs coming into our country, I'm going to immediately impose a 25% tariff on everything they send in to the United States of America.
Violent crime concerns also dominated the elections in El Salvador, where populist President Nayib Bukele was re-elected in a landslide. The millennial leader's profile boosted by his TikTok account, where he has more followers than the total population of his country.
Destruimos su clica y capturamos a más de 50 terroristas, incluyendo a su líder.
Bukele's hardline approach to crime drastically cut the country's homicide rate, but his tactics blur lines into authoritarian rule. Will Freeman, fellow for Latin American Studies at the Council on Foreign Relations, says his tactics spark concerns about the erosion of democratic norms in this vulnerable region.
This is a guy who's kind of made himself the face of a certain approach to crime in the region. Many people will know that he put 80,000 people in mega prisons during his first year and a half in office. Shocking, brutal, very little respect for law or due process.
In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro faced one of the greatest challenges to his rule, with voters coming out to the polls in large numbers for the opposition. Maduro is clinging to power despite the United States and international observers saying he tampered with the vote.
It wasn't a surprise that Maduro, the dictator, stole those elections, but it was still crushing.
While in Russia, Vladimir Putin's decade-long rule remained unchallenged.
Russia's election was barely an election. It was an election in name only. And I think what it tells me is that someone like Putin, he still cares about the fig leaf of democracy. For some reason, it matters to him.
In Iran, years of sporadic vocal unrest that were met with harsh crackdowns made way for a reformist candidate, following the death of the country's hardliner president in a helicopter crash. However, the supreme leader's absolute authority serves as a significant obstacle to any meaningful change new President Masoud Pezeshkian can enact. Across the globe, economic challenges and social turbulence shape the 2024 elections, and now heads of state are tasked with delivering on their campaign promises of change.
I think leaders are going to look inward a lot more than they were before. They are going to hear people when they say that they're worried about inflation, they're worried about the hollowing out of rural societies, and they're worried about immigration, especially when it is illegal. I think countries and parties within them are hearing them.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.